I wanted to make a video on how to maximize your thrift stores in terms of sourcing inventory. And again, this is going to be particularly for sourcing clothing. I don't know how well this is going to apply to other commodities, other goods, but since I'm a clothing seller, I think I am somewhat qualified to do this, and this is something that I've had to adapt to. In my area, there are 2 Goodwills and 4 Salvation Armies, and there's a whole bunch of other, well, not a whole bunch. There's like 5 or 6 other smaller mom and pop thrifts. There's one church thrift that's really cheap that I like. But overall, I don't have, like in the Bay Area, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thrift stores. I don't have that. So I do 8 listings a day right now. I think if I was to maximize everything, I could probably do about 20 listings a day pretty easily. I might be able to even get to up to 30, but I would probably have to figure out other ways of doing things. Going to more garage sales, stuff like that, and maybe finding out. There's flea markets that I haven't really tapped yet. But the fact that I'm able to get, that I'm confident that, and you don't have to believe me, but I am quite confident that I can do 20 listings a day. I believe I would be able to do 20 listings a day just based on those 6, the 2 Goodwills and 4 Salvation Armies, just based on those 6 thrift stores, I could do 20 listings a day. I could source enough to do 20 listings a day is really the important part. How would I do this? Well, there's basically 2 aspects to this. One, being able to know more inventory, being able to source inventory, knowing more brands, knowing more things about these brands and clothing that you're getting, therefore being able to buy more stuff and know that what you're buying is still going to be worth it to buy and is going to be good inventory. And second, knowing when to return to the same thrift store. So I'll go over the first point first. I know a lot about men's clothing brands. A lot of this is borrowed from Thrift-A-Life. I read the entirety of the Menswear Manifesto 3. I don't know if he's going to make a 4 because he's doing Whatnot now. But the Menswear Manifesto 3, if you're unaware of it, it's like 330 men's clothing brands broken down by category. Less relevant now because it was written in winter of this year, but it is a very, very, very useful list. It's a bolo list, and it's by far the best bolo list that I've ever seen, bar none. Like it's not even close. Goes through sell-through, it goes through different categories. Really, really, really important. Really, really useful tool if you are willing to do it. And it's free, it's pay what you want. I'm not going to advertise anymore for him because even though I owe him basically my entire reselling business. But I know a lot about men's clothing. I also know a decent amount about women's clothing. I have done a lot of research on men's clothing. I, again, have read the Anthro Anthology, which is the anthropology version of the Menswear Manifesto. Very similar to it. And I've basically memorized all of those brands. And I also know a lot more brands because I've done phone research as I go in the thrift. So this took me only about 3 months or so, I would say, to build up a vast catalog of brands in my mind. And because I know both men's and women's brands, I can pretty much maximize all of the clothing that there is in the thrift store. There are 2 clothing categories that I do not touch. One is kids' clothing, and 2 is women's dresses. I just despise dresses. I just hate selling them. I've tried. It's just annoying to me. I always miss a flaw because they're always like crinkly, and it's like, I just do not like selling dresses. And kids' clothing is really weird. I don't really know anything about it. And it's also a smaller section of the thrift store, and the margins are way lower. So I just have ignored it. Although there is a decent chance that I'm missing out on some, maybe not some, but I might be missing out on a lot of money. I don't know. So that's the first thing. Know your brands, know your categories, just try to learn as much as possible there is to know about clothing. And secondly, and this is still in the first part where you need to be able to maximize at a single trip to the thrift store, being able to maximize how much inventory you get. The second thing that is very, I would say, important to be able to do is to, I guess, to talk to thrift stores. This is not so much talking about, like I said that I was talking about the 6 thrift stores, the Goodwills and the Salvation Armies. The Salvation Armies are actually quite homey. I have talked to the managers, and they are willing to tell me about things, and they will tell me when they've told me about stock inventory before, but the places that I've actually had good luck with talking to about inventory are the mom and pops. There is a church thrift that is quite inexpensive, and I've been able to source inventory from them. I've gotten bulk inventory from them. I've also done this from a local thrift store, and you can get bulk inventory for around $1 per piece. Normally it ends up being about half of it is kind of just worthless, like Guild t-shirts, blank jersey t-shirts is just sort of not really worth it. So I end up paying about $2 a piece, which I'm really happy to do, because I get good inventory from them. Now, the next point that I was talking about was how often you should go to thrift stores. This is a very difficult thing to pinpoint, and of course it's going to change depending on which thrift store you go to. I would say that you can go to, at least for Goodwills, in the 2 Goodwills that I've been to, and some of the Goodwills that I've been to down in sort of southern-ish it's like Bay Area, basically. I've been there. I haven't returned to those more often than once a week, but I have found in general that a week is enough time to replenish inventory at these retail thrifts. I find that if I go to a Goodwill and then I go to the same Goodwill a week later, I can get the same amount of inventory, or roughly the same amount. I generally pick out between 15 and 25 pieces of inventory per store, generally hovers around 20, and if I do it every week, I can get the same amount. However, that's not necessarily maximizing your inventory. I've found that for the Goodwills and for the Salvation Armies, I can go once every 3 days or so, and that maximizes. I get around 10 to 12 items if I go once every 3 days, and that has allowed me to get the maximum amount of inventory, because if I can get 10 to 12 items a day every 3 days, then I'm getting slightly more than around 20 items every week. So that is a slight optimization in terms of that. Another thing, think about sales. So my Salvation Armies here, I'm a student, and they offer on Wednesdays a 25% discount if you have student ID with you. So I use this and I maximized this. I got, like last week, I went on a Wednesday, and there was a huge rack of just new with tags 511 tactical uniforms that I think a department store donated. I capitalized and I bought a lot of them. I bought all of the 2XLs and up. 2XLs, 3XLs, and 5XLs. There were no 4XLs. And I ended up getting those each for around $2. $2.06 is what I paid each, because they were half off of $5.50 and then 25% off of that. So yeah, I ended up doing really good work there, and I'm probably going to make a couple hundred off of that one purchase that cost me around $80. And it's going to be easy because they're all the same shirt, so I can just make one listing with multiple, is it actives? I don't know, with multiple quantity. I can't English. So look around this. Salvation Armies do this. Goodwills, depending on where you live on, may or may not do tag sales. I forgot Salvation Army does tag sales. The Goodwills where I live, do not do tag sales. However, they actually do have a 10% discount on Mondays and Tuesdays, which is a little marginal, but is still something that I have considered really trying to maximize on, trying to go to the Goodwills on the Mondays and Tuesdays. So yeah, that's pretty much it. One last thing I will say, this is not to do with the retail thrifts, but if you are running out of inventory and you are like a queue of inventory, if you are not able to source enough to hit your listings, the amount of listings you want to do, try the bins. I've done this twice so far. If you do a mass bins trip, if you go to the bins and just stock up on a crap ton of stuff, like I mean 100+ items, you can use that to pad out the amount that you have to source. And because it's cheap, I'd say probably around 5% of the items that I get from the bins I end up discarding just because they're not great. So I end up paying about $2 an item. But the bins are great. The bin that I go to is actually not that crowded. If you have a really crowded bins, it might be terrible for you, but yeah. Overall, if you have any trouble with sourcing enough stuff. I hope this helped. This was a really erratic video, but I don't know, slightly better lighting. So yeah.